Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Do you ever feel like you're doing the journey alone? Have you ever felt like that you just need someone to talk to, someone who could bring some perspective into your world? Or maybe you're not the type of person who learns from watching video courses or reading books, and you just want to talk with someone specifically about your challenges and how to break through them. I want to introduce you to the High Performance Men's Coaching Program. It's an intensive coaching experience designed to unlock a man's full potential in his life, business, and relationships. Over this past year, I've brought together and trained some of the best coaches in the world to help men step up, stop playing small, and become the strongest versions of themselves. Learn more about High Performance Men's Coaching at kfmcoach.com. Again, that's kfmcoach.com. You are not alone, and we are here to cut through the crap, hold you accountable, and challenge you so that you can make your dreams become a reality. Go to kfmcoach.com to learn more and apply. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Preston Smiles. He's the author of Love Louder. He's a life coach. He leads workshops. He helps people reach their highest potential. Preston, welcome to the show.
What's up, my dude?
All right, man. Loving the energy here on the show. Preston, let's dive in now with a favorite success quote or some sort of saying that you've lived by that's helped you on your journey.
Yeah, that would easily be, love will find a way, everything else will find an excuse.
Love will find a way, everything else will find an excuse. All right. And what does that really mean to you? How does that tell us more about yourself? What's that mean to you?
Yeah, for me, that's something that I remind myself of because it's easy to get distracted in this world, especially right now with the internet and all the different things that are vying for our attention. So it's a constant reminder that if I say I love it, that I'll find a way out of no way.
Yeah. And give us an example of when you've applied this.
I mean, I do it every day, man. Like I do it every day. I just walked in the house from running some errands and I'm newly married, but even before we got married a couple weeks ago.
Oh, congratulations. Nice.
Thank you.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah, we'll talk about that. All right.
Even before that, I have professed my love to this woman, Alexi Panos. And for me, love is a verb. So if I say I love her, then I'll make a way out of no way to remind her of that, to have her see herself as a queen and to verbalize and have my actions stand behind what my heart is saying. So I just walked in the house and instead of going straight to my computer or anything else, I went straight to her and I kissed her on the neck and I told her I loved her and I asked her how her day has been so far and I just checked in. And for me, that's, quote, love will find a way, everything else will find an excuse.
Yeah. Yeah. And congratulations on the marriage, the wedding that just happened, probably just coming into things here. And so when you say that, how does that make you feel? Like you're just like, hey, man, I just got married. And how does it feel to say that? Because that's something new that you're saying now. Like, how does that feel to just have this the next step in that relationship?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, dude. It's like, I'm like a grown ass man officially now. Like that's like, there's a few things that happen, in our society, getting married, having kids, buying a house, like things of that nature are like, you're an adult. And like, for me, that's like the official like stamp, you're an adult. So, but it's beautiful, man. Like she's my one. And I knew from the moment I met her, like if you would have known me 4 or 5 years ago, you'd hear me say like, I don't believe in that romantic crap that, people just meet someone and they know. And like, I met her and it was instantaneous. So it's a beautiful thing. I also did 6 months of celibacy and was consciously calling her in. So, I also went about it in a different way. So I was a lot clearer because my penis wasn't running the show at that time.
What do you mean consciously calling her in? So you've met her and you're doing this, or you have not met her? You are single.
Yes.
And you are reaching out. You're doing this. You're gonna have to go into some detail about what you're doing here. And when you saw her, you're saying you said you knew it. Like
Yes.
this was it.
Absolutely.
Okay, talk about this thing you're doing before and the 6 months of celibacy, and also why are you doing this?
Absolutely, man. So a couple things. One, and we teach this, and I came to an understanding of it that everything is touching everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people come to us and to me for coaching. I coached a guy today who mentioned that he can't go more than 3 days without jerking off. And
Common challenge.
Exactly. One of my questions was, if you knew, what would you think you would be avoiding? And, that opened up a whole Pandora's box. And, an hour into the conversation, he was just like, dude, mind blown, heart blown, like game on. And he was really excited about it. And at the end, I explained to him, because he's really in the logical masculine side of things. We all have masculine and feminine energy. Most Western men tend to dip further into their masculine and not really honor the feminine. And so he was one of those dudes that was like, okay, so I got this, but like, tell me the results. What is it that, what's on the other side of this? And I explained to him that it's like having the cake, the cherry on top, and then realizing that there's an entire bonus room that your brain and your heart couldn't even fathom. And in that bonus room is like a whole nother like world of goodness. And damn, where am I going with this? I forgot. What was your question?
We're talking about why are you celibate?
Yes.
And then
yes.
What is this intention? It sounds
Boom.
to me. Okay.
So the guy, after all of this excitement and, him ready to go, I put him on a 30-day challenge to keep all of his chi and all that stuff. I said, and, as a bonus, everything is touching everything. So you think you're killing it in your business now? Watch what happens when you actually believe yourself, because the biggest enemy there is the one inside of our head. And I said, watch what happens, because it's not just going to touch your relationships. It's going to touch your business. It's going to touch your relationship with your family. It's going to touch everything around you. You're going to find yourself attracting from a different place because you believe you. You no longer feel like an imposter who's pretending. And, a lot of people have imposter syndrome, myself for a long time, which is why I understand it so deeply. So all that to say, there was a point about 4 or 5 years ago, where I got that my animal, meaning my penis, was running the show most of the time.
What does that look like when your penis is running the show?
It looks like experiencing myself as a predator. It's trying to fill some void. It's an avoidance of being with oneself and filling that with the belief that, if I date more women or have more sex or whatever the case may be, that, maybe I don't have to look at it. And that's from a conscious level. Most people, including myself, for a long time, don't even have that consciousness. They don't understand that they're overeating or they're emotional buying and things of that nature. They're watching porn, they're jacking off. All of those things are an avoidance of the self, right? So the moment I gained an awareness that that's what I was doing, I made a decision that some things had to shift. And, I was no longer satisfied with the type of women that I was attracting. And I understood that it's never out there. It's never an out there conversation. It's what's happening on the inside is reflected on the outside. And so instead of trying to shift the outside and talk about how there's no women in LA and all that stuff, I shifted that conversation to me. Okay. If I elevate me, then everybody around me will probably come with me based on Einstein's quote, So I did that. I made the decision. And before that, I had made the decision to let go of alcohol. And that was huge for me as well. I did that in 2012, and that was a game changer. And so now here comes this new decision to do 6 months of celibacy, and it just shifted everything, man. Like I had more energy. I wasn't just attracting doper, more awesome women. I was attracting awesome people in general. And everybody who would come around me, who knew me, before then, would be like, dude, there's something different about you. And I never really told that many people when I was doing it. And I just started recognizing like, oh, this stuff actually works. When you work on you, when you work on the self, everything else gets affected. And so I went through that process, and then I started dating again, and I started dating from a different place. My dick was no longer running the show. So when I would meet a girl who was not the 1 or the 2 or the 3 or the 4, and what I mean by that is, sometimes it's highly important that you honor even someone who is not your 1. And, I would meet certain women and I'd be like, okay, my my penis would like to go on this and play this game. But my heart, my soul, everything else about me is a no. And so because I had that discipline and it turned into a blisscipline, it was easy for me to walk away. And every time you walk away, your no is just as powerful as your yes. Every time you say no to something, it's a declaration to the universe for what you do stand for. So I kept saying no to stuff that didn't meet the criteria. It wasn't at the level in which I was operating. And because of that, the universe found a way out of no way. And I crossed paths with Alexi when I was on a blind date with someone else. And I saw her and it was instantaneous.
So you were on a date with another girl and then you met the woman that you just married.
Yes, I did. Exactly.
So what was that like? Just briefly, this is just more for my own personal entertainment. To what did you say? Oh, whoa, hold on just 1 second. And then you ran over. Hey, who are you?
Kinda. So the backstory, I'll give you the short version of this. So 3 weeks before I met my now wife, I received a message from a friend who said, "Hey, P, I'm in London." He was my old college roommate. Awesome dude. I hadn't talked to him in years. He was like, "Yo, P, I'm in London and I just met the female version of you. You guys are going to work together. She's dating my buddy." And I said, "Oh, awesome. Cool. Put us in a message." So he put this in a message. I click on her profile. I see that she does work in Africa. She does personal development stuff like I do. And I write a message and I say, "Hey, Alexi, it's really nice to meet you. If you're ever in LA, give me a call. We should meet up and, see what's what." I didn't think anything of it. She never wrote back, right? Now, 3 weeks later, I have this blind date. The blind date comes to my house. I open the door. I look at her and I know that it's not her. And I'm like, no, that's not her. But I knew enough. And this is one of those wisdom nuggets. If you guys get anything out of this, this is one of the biggest things that has changed my life. And that is understanding that we always have our silence. We always have time to just stop and be. And so instead of making a rash, quick decision, instead of reacting, I decided to respond. I took a few deep breaths. I invited her upstairs and I went in my room and I asked Spirit, God, Buddha, Allah, Krishna, whatever name is on the door for you. I asked God, should I go on this date? And I got a resounding yes. And I was like, really? Because I'm not attracted to her. Like, she's beautiful, but like my dick's not running the show. So I don't really and I got yes, go. And so got dressed, got in the car, every single red light on the way to this spot in Venice Beach, I hit every red light. And, I had been doing enough studying to remember that there were so many people who, missed their flight during 9/11 when those terrorist attacks happened. There were so many people who left the World Trade Center an hour before it got hit. There were so many people who, would have looked at something and been like, oh, I missed my flight. That sucks. But really, it was the universe's way of making sure that they stayed on this planet. And so for me, hitting all these red lights, I was like, okay, something's up. But whatever. And I got inside and the guy said, you know what? We oversold the show by 10 seats. You're going to have to stand on the wall. And I said, oh, cool. No problem. The guy turns around, takes 2 steps, stops, turns back around and says, actually, you two. And he grabs my date and I and says, I'm going to put 2 more seats down on the front row. Now, take in mind, there's like a bunch of other people who needed seats. But he just grabbed us. He sits us down in the front row. I sit down. My date sits next to me. I look at the stage. I look at my date. And next to her is my now wife, Alexi. And I go, wait a minute, Alexi? And she's like, Preston? I'm like, I thought you lived in London. She's like, no, I live here. I just flew in the other day. And I'm like, shut up. And game on.
Boom.
Boom.
And so I was just putting together this video that I finished up, and it was like, if a relationship is easy, it's likely that your values, that what you guys are creating it's going to happen. But when it's hard, there's something there. There's conflict. And it's not that relationships in general are supposed to be easy, but it's easy because you want to fix the problems. You don't want there to be tension. You don't ignore the challenges.
Yes. And
it sounds like to me that you guys hit it off, and I'm sure there have been challenges. Of course, all relationships have them. But in a sense that you just knew that this was going to move forward. This was the direction that we're going to go in.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. One of my favorite quotes and things that I remind myself of is that it's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way you carry it. And that's C.S. Lewis. Mm-hmm, and it's a reminder that, in the tough times, no matter what it be, whether it's a relationship with, a romantic partner or a business partner or a family member. It's not what's happening that breaks you down. It's how you're holding what's happening that breaks you down. And so, we have our tough times, dude, but
Absolutely.
I'm constantly clear that this is my one. And like, love will find a way. Everything else will find an excuse.
Boom. So that's a fantastic story there. I like hearing how people can actually kind of reach out, and when you see the girl, you see the girl. It's like you were actively looking for it. And what I do really like is your ability to say no to relationships that aren't going to serve you, because you know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
The path that's going to happen when you get involved with a woman that in the back of your mind that this is temporary, but all of a sudden you wake up and it's 5 years later.
Exactly.
It's like that temporary thing became a long-term thing that you kept saying to yourself is going to be temporary.
Exactly. And everything is touching everything. So that affects your business, your everything.
Exactly. Yeah, it does. The way that you show up in your relationships could be similar to how you're going to show up in business, how you're going to show up on stage, how you're going to show up for your clients, how you're going to show up for the people that you're serving. So being able to say no, was that an easy thing? What was that like to actually start setting boundaries and saying no to the things that don't serve you? So including women, but also including other aspects too.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So one of the biggest things for me was understanding that just because I'm not busy doesn't mean I'm available. That has been huge because, there's a part of me, and a lot of us have experienced this, where I'm a people pleaser and a recovering people pleaser. I have a chapter in my book about that.
Like a nice guy.
Yes. People pleasers are always trying to make sure everyone else is okay at the detriment of themselves.
Yes.
So, I would say yes to stuff that I was clearly a no to just because I didn't want people to dislike me or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. And, usually that comes from some childhood trauma or something of that nature. And so when I started attacking that wounded self, that ego mind wounded conversation, and owning my no, and owning that just because I'm not busy doesn't mean I'm available, everything changed. Like I said, it's a declaration to the universe for what you do stand for. Our no is just as powerful as our yes, if not more. And so it was and always is a practice. And one of the things I teach, and another chapter in my book is about powerful questions call for powerful answers, period. So sitting in powerful questions, like, how am I in my own way right now? I'm saying yes to something I don't actually align with. Again, interesting. Okay. What do I choose now? Another powerful question. I choose to make a new contract with this person about what I'm experiencing. I get to say, you know what? I know I told you yes yesterday, but things have changed and you're going to have to find somebody else. And understanding that no is a gift. Think about how many people have said no to you. How many people? I'm so grateful for all the no's I got because they forced me to become creative. They forced me to be a better entrepreneur. They forced me to become a better person. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So how dare I rob somebody of that opportunity by saying yes to something I'm not aligned with?
Yeah. Yeah. It serves both parties.
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting here.
Yes. Absolutely.
And when you're battling this, you're setting these boundaries and you're starting to stand up for yourself. How did it make you feel when you first started leaning towards your edge of saying no to people? Because no is a very powerful word because you are absolutely respecting yourself over your own needs over the other person's needs in some cases.
For sure, man. Empowered. It made me feel empowered. It made me, and not at first, because there's a little bit of like, oh my God, whether people like to admit it at all, we're all looking in some ways for approval. The question is does the approval, are we looking for it outside of ourselves? There's three desires that every single human being is always looking to fulfill: approval, control, and security. The question is, the thing that determines and makes someone live an excellent, extraordinary life is, are you looking to fulfill those things outside of the self? Are you looking for approval in the car that you buy? Are you looking for approval in the way that you dress? Are you looking for security and choosing the low-hanging fruit? Are you looking for control? Are you trying to control everything and manipulate everything because out there, because you don't believe you're good enough? That's a game changer.
And what do we do when we decide that we want to change? When we decide that we want to say, hey, enough is enough, how do we start recreating what if we
awareness?
What if we don't even know our values? Like, how do we even develop awareness around what do I value? What are some questions someone could ask to better understand that?
All of it starts with awareness, right? So you can't intervene in a world you can't see. You can't change something you truly cannot see. And most people on our planet are trying to change the leaves instead of the roots. And so the work that my fiance and my wife and I do is see, dude.
Whoa, got it, man.
It's so new.
Yeah,
the work
that's awesome.
that my wife and I do in these workshop rooms and things of that nature is support people in catching their conditioned tendencies so that they can change them, because you can't change what you can't see. So awareness, asking oneself, checking in 3 times, 5 times a day. What do I intend right now? What's my intention? Like, how am I in my own way right now? How can I better love myself in this now moment? Questions like that will change your life, because small hinges swing big doors. Little steps every day create big, big impact, big life, big container.
And once we have this awareness, how do we stay consistent with actually owning our values and being consistent with that?
You don't. You do, but it's not. So it's like this. If I walk into a gym, or let's just say anyone walks into a gym who has not been working out for years, and they walk into a gym and they pick up 2 50-pound dumbbells and they go to curl those dumbbells, 9 out of 10, they're not going to be able to do that many curls, even if they get one off. And then the next day, 9 out of 10, they're going to be sore. But if they go back in 3 days later, and then 3 days after that, and 3 days after that, and 3 days after that, and they just keep going in and curling those 50-pound dumbbells, there's going to come a day where they don't even have to think about it. It's embodied. It's going to be so easy that, they'll look up and they would have created a new normal. So that's what the practice is. Whatever you practice more of, you get more of, period.
Yeah, I like that. So staying consistent and understanding that it's going to hurt, it's going to be tough, but if we keep showing up, it's going to become easier over time. And we're going to eventually have to start adding more weight.
Yes.
Making it harder on ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is good. So in your book, Love Louder, what's the main point here? Love louder for who? For myself, to other people? And what can I expect to get when I start loving louder?
It always comes back to the self, man. Everything comes back to the self. So Love Louder is a call to action for us to turn the volume up on our love, which will automatically turn the volume up on our lives. I know this firsthand. I've lived it. I'm living it. And, it's comprised of 33 timeless, easy, practical tools for people to sit with and be with over, however long. I mentioned in the book not to read this book from cover to cover and try to speed through it, but to take just one, like I'll flip to one right now, Becoming versus Revealing, chapter 21, right? So this is about understanding that so many people are always trying to become. They want to become successful. They want to become rich. They want to become better looking. But, the name of the game is about revealing. And I offer in that chapter ways in which to have that happen and support people in revealing what's already here. Because that's been one of the biggest keys to my success, is not trying to reinvent the wheel, not trying to be like Gary Vaynerchuk or anybody else. Jason Silva, anybody else. Yeah, Andrew Farabee.
It's like, gosh, how do I do it?
Yep. Exactly.
Okay, so what would be an example of that then? So it's like someone successful like Gary V, these other guys, the power, you said 21, becoming versus revealing. So you want to reveal versus trying to become? Is that what I'm getting here?
Absolutely.
Okay, so how do we do that? Let's use Gary Vee as an example. I've read all his books, and so I want to be Gary Vee. I want to be this social media icon and have this crazy brand behind me and invest in all the best startups.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that would be, if I was coaching someone, I'd say you're already trapped, because you're chasing after something that is not you. That's Gary Vee's life. Now, to look at what Gary Vee has created and say, I want to do my own version of that, Oh, absolutely. But, a lot of people look at certain people, Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, Andrew Farabee, whoever they're looking at, and they attempt to mimic instead of model. And those are two different things. The distinction. When someone's mimicking somebody, they're just copycatting. And that's a middle finger to their creator. That's a middle finger to their uniqueness. Modeling, absolutely. Oh, that worked for Gary. Awesome. Let me try that. But, for me, revealing starts with bringing a deep sense of gratitude about what's already here. I tell my clients all the time, there's at any given moment at least 500,000 people on the planet who would love to hear specifically from you. And you don't have to try to reinvent something. We live in a time right now where we don't even know the extent of what the internet can do and what it's going to do. And so if you're into pink elephants, if you're into, video games, whatever you're into, you can make millions off of that joint. You don't even have to go anywhere else. If you're a nerd and you're into real estate, just do that. And so instead of trying to mimic what someone else has done, it's about revealing. Like, how am I awesome? How am I different than everybody else? Oh, I'm really passionate. I'm really passionate about this. Oh, I know everything about Star Trek. Awesome. How can you monetize that thing? And what's the point? And what are you looking to achieve by getting what Gary Vee or whoever has? Because if we can get even deeper, because remember, that's the leaves. I'm talking about the roots. The revealing part is about the roots. So the leaves are, I want what they have. They have a Ferrari, I want a Ferrari. The roots are, that dude is free, or at least I experience him as free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do I free me? How am I in my own way? How am I, and I teach this all the time. The Ninja Turtle and the Ferrari are no different. The Ninja Turtle you wanted as a kid and the Ferrari or the house or the million in the bank is no different. You're still chasing something outside of the self, trying to get that dopamine hit, getting super excited. And the thing is like, there's nothing wrong with any of those things. But if it's all outside of the self, then you're a slave to the Ninja Turtle, the Ferrari, the woman, or whatever else it is that you're trying to fulfill. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. External. We're getting, we have an external locus of control around our lives instead of that internal locus of control around what brings us happiness. How can we shift? I'm 28. I have 28 years of watching media that tells me I need things outside of me. And also the people I look up to also live the life that has told me that this is the life of success.
Yes, absolutely.
What is one to do in a situation where that is the perceived notion of success?
Question it. Question everything. I tell people to question everything. Your religion, your ideas about who you are, what you are. Just question it. Just sit in the question. Get your answers questioned. And get your questions answered and your answers questioned. And when one chooses to sit in that and ask big questions, the universe, or whatever you'd like to call it, always answers. The problem is most people ask disempowering questions. They say, why am I so fat? Why am I so ugly? Why am I so broke? Why wasn't I born into a better family? Why did my, dad, cousin, brother, whoever rape me when I was 12, 13, 14, 15, whatever the case may be? They're asking disempowering questions. And Google, God, universe, whatever you'd like to call it, always answers. So if you ask an empowering question, you will get an empowered answer back. So that would be the first place I would start.
Yeah. Tony Robbins says the quality of your life is the quality of your questions.
Boom.
Okay. So I have this, I'm starting to really understand. I have boundaries. I have my values. I've really started questioning, why do I really do the things I do? And I think that's so important to understand. Why do I really work 70 hours a week occasionally? Why do I do that? And understanding, because at the end of the day, it's like, you want freedom, but is that freedom?
Exactly.
It brings up a lot, but money, I do believe, can give you a baseline of freedom at a certain point. Beyond a certain point, it's not that it's not necessary. I do enjoy making money. That is a part of, I do find satisfaction in that. The amount of impact I'm making, I can measure that in monetary value as well, in terms of how much people are willing to spend on the programs I offer.
Yeah.
Where do we draw the line? Where do we draw that line between, am I chasing money Am I chasing this external thing that I need to be getting?
Yes.
Or like, what about me? Like, is this really just what I want?
Absolutely. Here's what I would say. Everything you own will be owned by somebody else or trash at some point.
No.
So there's not a single thing that we can take with us to the grave. And so if one is not having fun, if one is not experiencing the fullness, the beauty, the joy, the harmony, the peace, the magic of life in the now, not 7 years from now after I've worked 70 hours a day for 7 years, but now, if one is not having that experience, you get to rework the whole thing, period. So, I draw the line with, because, we're making quite a bit of money. It's fantastic, as we should. But I also understand that abundance is not something you get. It's something you align with. So I'm abundant whether the money is there or not. I'm abundant whether the car is there or not. I'm abundant whether the followers are there or not. I am not a slave to my Instagram. Exactly. Boom. Yes.
What are you abundant in? You said I'm very abundant without these external things.
Absolutely.
What are you abundant in then?
Peace, joy, harmony, love. I have an abundant mentality about life, about humans. I love people. Absolutely, genuinely love people. I love the human experience. I'm curious. Curiosity is amazing. That's one of the biggest game changers. People don't understand. If you just get curious about life, get curious about people, because we're all in the people business. Even if you are a tech guy who sits behind a computer all day, you still need people to buy your stuff. And so you get curious about people and understand that 99.99.99% of the people listening to this podcast or anything else do not live in the middle of Africa or India where there is no water or food. So with that understanding, you can't fail. It's impossible to fail, because even if it was all taken away, all you would do is just make it all over again. And then so what? So what? Like you can only stand in one room at a time. We all still poop. We all still go through the same stuff. I personally know many, many millionaires who are broke as hell.
What do you mean? Millionaires who are broke as hell. Millionaires meaning they have a lot of money, but they have a lot of debt?
Yes.
Broke as hell internally.
No, not debt. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
The debt, they're internally broke. That's why they come to our workshops. That's why they ask for coaching, because they're not actually free. They're slaves to the money. They're slaves to the whole process that got them that. It's easy to, not necessarily easy. It's simple, not necessarily easy to go into your masculine, go into your warrior energy, figure out some systems and make a bunch of money. Like anyone can do that. Anyone can do that. But somebody who's truly free is somebody who can do that and enjoy what they're experiencing moment to moment. And there's a lot of people who get there, and I'm doing quotes, and understand that it's empty without being full from the inside out. And
what are some daily habits that could make someone have more fun in their life? And I'm not talking about going to Disneyland or doing these audacious things, but just simple little habits that could bring more fun and joy in someone's life.
Absolutely. One for me is I choose every single day to bike, ride, skateboard, walk, sit under a tree, surf in the ocean, something. I do something in nature every single day. It is a must. I'm committed to making sure that I get outside of my computer and my normal routine and add that into it. Another thing is meditate. Slow down to speed up. Our science has proven that those who meditate are healthier. Period. Play. Just choose to play, especially if you have a significant other. Like Alexi can tell you, I smack her butt probably at least 10 times a day. I tickle, I tackle, I chase her around the house. We just play. Just act like a kid. And it's another thing, and I won't mention my book anymore, but like in my book, I have a chapter called Childlike, Not Childish. And, the wiser I become, the more childlike I become, the more playful I become. And that is one of the most freeing things ever, because we're all looking to fulfill that part of us. There's a part of every single human being that has never been hurt, harmed, or endangered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a part of us that is still innocent, that is beautiful, that is perfect. And it's our duty to reach towards that. You may not hit it every time, but it's our duty to reach towards it. So figure out what it is that makes you smile, makes your heart smile, and do that more.
Yeah. Yeah, this is good. What would you say, just to recap here on your thoughts around playfulness and happiness here, or having fun? What would you, how do most people view attaining happiness, and how do you view happiness, attaining happiness?
I would say that in my findings that most people believe initially that happiness is wrapped up in some type of external money, cars, houses,
even women like,
yes. Yep. Finding the mate. That's good. All of that stuff. It's all wrapped up out there. And for me, back to it, it's an inside job.
So you mean Los Angeles, basically?
No,
just the whole.
No, I mean San Diego.
All right, cool. We're going to war now. All right.
Yes.
Continue on.
Yeah. So, because everybody's bombarded by the same media, like the same Kim Kardashian magazines that are in our grocery stores or in everyone else's grocery stores as well. They're all being punked in some ways. So,
right.
The bottom line is like one of the things that I would highly suggest for anybody who's wanting to turn the volume up on their lives is just choosing love, asking yourself, what would love do now? And then just sitting in that. Oh, this person just cursed at me. Oh, what would love do now? Love would get like that. That doesn't come from nowhere. But that's the top layer. That's behavior. So what's under that? Oh, they're hurting. Interesting. Okay, let me be a space for them to express their hurt. What would love do now? Oh, I'm in traffic and I'm frustrated and I'm flipping people off. What would love do now? Oh, love would turn on an audiobook. Love would call my mom. I haven't talked to her in a while. Let me tell her I love her. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. How do we tame the masculine in those moments where we do want to
punch somebody,
especially in the summer traffic? I mean, LA. I mean, come on,
San Diego. It's like one freeway. Yeah,
true.
No, dude.
Two, maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah. How do we tame the masculine in those situations where we might not be choosing love in that moment? We might be choosing to be an aggressive.
Yes. So get this. This is big. It's not what happens. It's what you do with what happens, right? So do I get pissed off? Do I want to punch people? Do I curse and spit and things like that come up? Hell yeah, they do. But it's not what happens. It's what we do with what happens and how fast we can shift back into love. And back to science, it's been proven that when we go into our fight or flight mode, that our bodies get flooded with adrenaline and things of that nature, which lessens our choices. Because, back in caveman days, when a saber-toothed tiger was chasing you, you needed to use all of that energy in a different way. And, we're still as advanced as we are, our brains still work the same way. So breathing 3 to 5 deep centered breaths all the way into the belly will change your entire life. I swear to God. Huge. Breathing. So simple. But most people don't do it. They stop breathing. When somebody scares them or a scary movie, just think about a movie. The thing happens, everybody goes, something happens, somebody curses you out, somebody cuts you off, and you're raging and you're not breathing.
Or you freeze and you don't breathe too.
Yes.
I was on the beach yesterday, and weird things usually happen on the beach. And a guy was yelling at a guy, and the one guy turns around and he puts up his fist and starts yelling at the guy. And the guy before, who was the loudmouth guy, he froze. And I watched a grown man, probably 44, 45, looked like mid 40s, big guy.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, wow, we're going to see a fight. Oh, gosh, what's going to happen here? And he froze, and he was on his bike and didn't move at all. He didn't move, and he just stood there. And then I kept walking, and then I remember looking back. Maybe I walk 50 feet or so. I turned around. I'm like, what's this guy doing? Still in the same position.
Yep.
Frozen.
Yep. Fight, flight, freeze, appease. These are our conditioned tendencies.
Appease meaning to kind of succumb, to bow down. Okay.
Yep. So sometimes little kids learn this, we have lots of clients that have this experience where, let's say one of the parents is an alcoholic, and, instead of freezing or fighting, the kid learns to appease. So they'll say, Dad, do you want me to get you, you need a cold towel? And they learn to appease in those moments. And so these are our conditioned tendencies. And once again, you cannot intervene in a world you truly cannot see. And most people don't understand what their conditioned tendencies are. So you're absolutely correct. That guy froze because that's his conditioned tendency. He's probably been doing that his whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So this episode here, we've covered a lot of ground. We started off with a compelling story of your dating life,
Yes.
your pre-dating life. We've gone into the power of saying no and standing up for yourself and setting clear boundaries and walking away from situations that do not serve you. And then really diving into like the whole happiness and how do we have more fun? How do we really enjoy our lives and live and love with freedom. And we've gone on quite a ride here. I want to dive now into the knowledge round. Just going to ask you a few rapid fire questions here to pull out some more nuggets. Are you ready for the knowledge round, Preston?
Let's do it.
All right.
Blop, blop, blop.
So you might be wondering, why would I ever invest in a coach? I've never done anything like that before. Well, it's going to shorten your learning curve and save you the time that it would take to achieve your goal. You can avoid making mistakes that you would otherwise make. You'll get more results because everything will be tailored to your specific needs and challenges. The coach will hold you accountable so you can't procrastinate, so you can't be lazy, so you can't say, I didn't have the time. You'll be challenged and pushed harder than you've ever been pushed. You'll have conversations so powerful that you'll feel more energized, alive, and confident and certain about the goals that you have in front of you and where you want to go. Most importantly, where you want to be. You'll go farther than you've ever gone before when you have a coach. If you want to learn more about our high performance men's coaching program, go to kfmcoach.com. Again, that's kfmcoach.com to learn more about our high performance men's coaching program. You have got to understand that every successful person in the world invests in coaching to go from good to great. And if you're already a high achiever, then how much more could you achieve if you had a high performance men's coach at your side to push you even further? Go to kfmcoach.com to learn more and apply for our high performance men's coaching program. Again, that's kfmcoach.com. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime. All right, what advice would you give to someone who's feeling really lost right now and unsure of like their purpose, the direction that they should go in?
In the end, it'll all be okay. And if it's not okay, it's not the end.
All right. What would you say was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
Thinking that it's the mountain that we conquer. And understanding now that it's not the mountain, but the self that we conquer.
Can the self be the mountain?
Yes, absolutely. But when I say mountain, I mean like thinking that it was making a certain amount of money and things of that nature.
So let's say the socially constructed mountain.
Exactly.
I see. All right. And let's go into 3 of your most influential books that have helped you on your journey.
Conversations with God, book 1, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, Deepak Chopra, and Love Louder by Preston Smiles.
All right. You're 20 years old. Envision what he's doing personally, professionally, and let's say in his relationships. Okay. Envision where he's at. And now imagine right now you got a moment to speak with him for 60 seconds and pull him aside. What would you tell him to do? What would you tell him not to do?
I'd say slow down. No need to rush. It's all good. It always is, even when it doesn't appear to be. It's okay for things not to be okay. Allow yourself to experience the pain, the sadness, and then make a new choice. And that all roads lead to the same place. It's always good.
And now, would you say, or just real quick, coming back to that, would you say that's your philosophy for life?
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, really good here. What would you say are the most common mistakes that men make that prevent them from being stronger men?
I think that men have an idea that if they don't cry or if they don't show any vulnerability or transparency, that they have an idea that that's weakness. And in actuality, it's the exact opposite. It's weak. You are not a man if you cannot show your emotions and allow yourself to be affected and moved by life. And so I think most men have it sort of backwards. And I get why. You know, I was told not to be a pussy, to be a big boys don't cry, to man up. I got all those things. I was in a gang. I was a whole different person. So I've lived that super hyper masculine life. And I know that that's a lie and it's all masking what's really happening, which is these hurt little boys who don't know how to be the space for love.
And where do we find the balance between the masculine and the feminine? Because I'm getting that you're not saying just to only do that.
No.
But to add on that.
Absolutely. So understanding that life is the in-breath and the out-breath. It's the yin and the yang. And most men are way, way, way into their yang. And it's time to move into the yin. That doesn't mean that you lose the yang. The yang is so easy. It's a tool now. It's a tool in your tool belt if you choose. Most men are so trapped in it that they don't know anything else. And the masculine is direct. It's logic. It's science, right? And the feminine is flow. It's creativity. There's so much power in that. And so to rework and to move into the feminine, just to play with it. Like, how can I soften right now? In the now, how can I soften my heart? I get that I've shut down a bit. She's nagging me again, and I've shut down again. How can I soften? What's here? How can I let somebody in right now? Just powerful questions over and over again. The answers will come. Just ask the questions.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, just even if you don't have the answers, just talking out loud with the other person. Like, hey, I don't have the answer, but I want to work on this.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like that is vulnerability because you're open to the idea. You're sharing the truth.
For sure.
This is good. And that's going to conclude the knowledge around there. So, Preston, what's exciting you today? What's really getting you out of bed in the morning these days?
The same thing that always gets me out of bed, which is an understanding that if there's going to be a Lil Wayne, a Kim Kardashian, if there's going to be 2 Chainz and a Donald Trump, there has to be a Preston Smiles. There has to be an Andrew Farabee. There has to be an Alexi Panos. There has to be people on the other side of that same coin, understanding that love is all there is and becoming or revealing and being an option for people to look at. So there's nothing wrong with Donald Trump. There's nothing wrong with Kim Kardashian. There's nothing wrong with Lil Wayne. But our job, my job, what wakes me up, what fires me up is positioning myself so kids and people have another option besides those things. So they don't get caught in the illusion that that's real life and that they get that there are people that are just as dope, just as awesome, just as passionate and loving and doing it from a space of compassion and unity.
Boom. Preston Smiles, everyone. PrestonSmiles.com. That's exactly how you spell it. Preston Smiles. Go to Google, put it in the URL. You can learn more about what he's up to. You can find out more about his programs. His book, Love Louder. Go to Google, put it in, go to Amazon, Love Louder. It pops right up either in Amazon or Google with Preston Smiles or let's see, do you have, that's the one and only. And this has been a powerful show, Preston. Thank you for sharing your story, your wisdom, and the challenges that you've overcome in your life and giving us these case studies of how you've helped other people in your world. Preston, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely, my man. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and millions of downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement and we're just getting started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a helpful review in iTunes because it really helps the podcast grow so we can impact even more men in the world who need this. Guys, this is all about living with purpose, where every day you only do things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. And always remember, love the life you have while creating the life of your dreams. Go to kfmfree.com to get a surprise bonus I've made for my listeners. Again, that's kfmfree.com for something that's changed my life, and I'm offering it to you for free. Also, check out my Amazon best-selling books that I've written for you to help you crush life at kfmauthor.com. Again, that's kfmauthor.com to see all the books I've created to help you break through in life. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, founder of KnowledgeForMen.com, and I'll see you in the next episode.